Good afternoon. My name is Asante Sako. This is Sean Davis, and welcome to the Next Gen podcast. Today, we're going to be covering the recent news of the Hard Knocks in season that will be covering the AFC North. If you're familiar with the Hard Knocks show, that basically covers training camp. They recently started covering in season with teams like the Arizona Cardinals in 2022, Dolphins in 2023, and now they're going to be covering the whole division. And today, we're going to be answering questions about the headlines that could possibly be popping up during the middle of the season for each AFC North team. We can start with the Pittsburgh Steelers since they got interesting QB controversy with Russell Wilson and Justin Fields. So you think it's going to be starting between them two?
I think right away it'll probably be Russell Wilson because I think he has the resume and kind of the veteran status to grant him a starting spot. But I think eventually they'll go to Justin Fields to see what he got and see if they got a pivot going forward after the season.
Yeah, I agree with you. Justin Fields, he does bring youth for a long-term future. I think he'll be a better fit in the offense alongside Najee Harris and also George Pickens. But Russell Wilson, he probably knows the scheme better than Justin Fields. And as you said, he got a good resume, good experience. He's the Super Bowl champion. He did pretty well last season, even though despite the regressions, I think it'll be a good fit for the Steelers. But it depends. I don't think he's a long-term solution in my opinion. But he doesn't really have to do much since he's going to be behind a great, ferocious defense under the Steelers with T.J. Watt, Minka Fitzpatrick, and more. Okay. What about the Cleveland Browns? Last year they made the playoffs with Watson not playing throughout the whole season. They made it with Joe Flacco. I think his health will be paramount to get him to the playoffs. What do you think?
I think the Browns have probably the best roster in the AFC North, top to bottom. Nick Chubb's going to be back healthy. They got a couple of really good wide receivers in Amari Cooper and Jerry Jeudy. They're good receivers. Good offensive line. That defense is great with Myles Garrett, probably the best edge rusher in the NFL currently. Good secondary, but it's going to come down to the quarterback, most important position in sports. And Deshaun Watson just hasn't gotten the job done since he's came back from his off-the-field issues. Gets paid like a top 8 quarterback, and if he ultimately can get back to that play, the Browns could be a real force to be reckoned with in the AFC. But if he isn't playing at that level, then the Browns can probably expect to be out of the playoffs this year.
Yeah, you could have said it better myself. The Browns are a complete team, and really it's going to come down to QB position and depending on if Sean Watson can stay healthy. And to help with that, in case Watson can't stay healthy, the Browns went out and got Jameis Winston. They also got Tyler Huntley from the Ravens. So that would be interesting. Yeah. Okay, next up we can do the Cincinnati Bengals. Last season, they missed the playoffs only by 1 game. And it was pretty clear that if Burrow stayed healthy throughout the season, they probably could have made the playoffs. But there are also other holes on that defense as well, specifically in the run defense. They also had a young secondary that struggled early, but hopefully during this new year, they'll hopefully develop and improve. And with Burrow back, hopefully be healthy, they could be in running for potentially win the division and potentially making it back to the Super Bowl. What do you think?
I think that the Bengals, they don't have the best team. I think every position, included, is probably the Ravens. But I think the Bengals probably have the best ceiling out of any team in the division and maybe in the AFC even outside of Kansas City. But it's because if Burrow's healthy, he's a top 3 quarterback. If the secondary, like you said, it's young, and if they take the next step, guys like Dax Hill and a bunch of young guys that got back there, then that defense could be much improved. T. Higgins signed his franchise tag. So, they still have one of the best 1-2 punches from wide receivers in the game with him and Jamar Chase. So, if Burrow's healthy and the secondary takes that next step, then the Bengals definitely got probably the highest ceiling out of any team.
Yeah, another thing I'd like to point out that the Bengals did improve the tackle position, specifically right tackle, with Murray Mims being drafted in the first round. Then they also got Trent Brown, who I think was a great addition to the O-line. So hopefully if that O-line can hold up throughout the year, I think the Bengals could be a huge threat to the AFC once again. And finally, we'll do the Baltimore Ravens, and they probably arguably got one of the biggest signings in free agency with Derrick Henry. Even though he's aging, I still think he'll be a gruesome threat in the AFC North, especially in physical type Okay, especially in a physical type offense like the Ravens. Wait.
I think the Ravens have all the pressure in the world to succeed. Like we've been talking about the Ravens being one of the favorites to win the AFC North, or one of the favorites in the AFC for some years now. But like now it's time like for Harbaugh and that group to like start to get the job done. You got still an elite running back. Lamar just won MVP and then kind of came up short against Mahomes in the AFC Championship game. They got a great defense still, so it's now like kind of time for Baltimore to start to put all the pieces together and go make a run. Or there's going to be some questions, I think, about that group in general.
Yeah, I think there are some questions in the secondary with the departure of Chino Stone. There's also cornerback, which they did address by drafting Nate
Wiggins.
Yeah, Nate Wiggins from Clemson. So the Ravens secondary, they're going to get younger in some aspects, so I expect them to have some early slumps, but as the season progresses, they'll probably get better. So finally, who do you think is going to win the division?
I'm going to say the Bengals. Like I said, I think they have the highest upside, highest ceiling out of any team. If Burrow's healthy, I think the secondary will make those improvements. You touched on the offensive line. I'll say the Bengals as long as Burrow's healthy.
I want to say Bengals specifically because I'm a Bengals fan, but I think I'm going to go with the Ravens once again. It could also be the Browns because they're a more complete team, but it depends on how well Watson performs if he can stay healthy. But the reason why I say the Ravens is because they're well coached by John Harbaugh. I like their offense, especially Derrick Henry, Zay Flowers, Mark Andrews coming back from injury. I like their O-line, and their defense is getting young in some aspects, specifically in secondary. Their pass rush is pretty good. Frankly, I think they can probably make another run to the AFC Championship if Lamar continues to play at a high level, play at MVP level. And that'll be all. Thank you guys for stopping by and listening to this podcast. I hope to see you guys once again in the near future. Thank you.